Hi, this is Alfred Brock, and we're going to be talking about escaping abuse, whether it's by spouse, alcohol, drug, or other violence. Get it on Amazon or Kindle, or you can contact me directly. I'll send you a free copy. I'm going to read through the entire introduction right now. Well, not the entire one. We're going to go through the first page. This book's about ways to help yourself and how to help others. So if you give it to them, it's going to give you information about where to contact other folks for immediate help, direct help. It's all in one place. And there are different groups that you can contact for just one problem. So you can get help from a whole lot of different people at once, and they're waiting to hear from you, by the way. So this book is about ways to help yourself and how to help others. And if you're being abused, this book is going to provide you with a few options for you to look into. There are only a few in here, but they're very powerful. And there are thousands of others of them, 10,000s of other folks and organizations looking to help you right now. All you need to do, if you are concerned about someone else, is share that with them. Just give it to them. There you go. They got it. And if it's you, well, you just page through the book, you select what you're interested in, and you can get yourself started on improving your life and getting safe, because you deserve it. Now, abuse occurs in many forms. It can be mental abuse from a spouse or a family member or a neighborhood person. Abuse can be the abuse of drugs or alcohol, so a person could abuse themselves, and in that case, often others. And abuse can be physical violence. There are more forms of abuse, but in this short book, going to be looking at spouse, alcohol, drugs, and violence, okay? Spousal abuse can take place in the home, and it can be composed of mental, emotional, physical abuse, and often is a combination of these things. So many people ask when informed of a problem, why doesn't that person leave? Why don't they just get the heck out of there? Well, there's complex reasons why someone does not leave an abusive relationship. Humans are not intended to live a lonely life. There's a natural bonding that takes place even with someone that abuses the other person, and that bond becomes extraordinarily deep. Those instincts alone may be cause enough for someone to stay, or at least to be reluctant to leave a relationship, no matter how abusive it becomes. Sometimes the abuse may become a contest to see which of the combatants can take the most and win. Now, very often the reason someone stays is because of the fear of the partner or others who may take retribution on them for leaving. They live in fear of present circumstances while also being oppressed by a horrifying view of what might happen if they did depart. In some cases, the person who's doing the abuse will threaten the other. In Michigan, state of Michigan, there's actually a law that says if your spouse threatens action against your animal, against your pet, because you want to get divorced or something like that, they can go to jail for that. So this is a serious idea. It seems like something minor, but it's very important. In some cases, the abuse can extend to control of money and property, and the abuser, if they're in a position to do so, can withhold money and deny rights to property through legal means or even intimidation. The loss of a home, social standing, friends, long-time acquaintances, neighbors, or even access to children can deter many from departing. To show how fundamentally wrong this form of forced captivity is and how strange the circumstances surrounding them is the fact that in some cases, one of the spouses may not leave an abusive relationship because they don't want to leave the family dog behind. Just touched on that. Or because the abusing spouse threatened the dog if the abused spouse left. This is serious. Imagine what happens if they're threatening the child. You know, the dog takes the same position in the family in many cases, as a friend, as a companion. You were worried about them. You don't want them to get killed if you leave or hurt. Now, it can be made worse. This abusive, an extension of the abusive relationship can be made worse by family and friends being incredulous towards the person who's detailing their plight or talking about it. They may even say it to somebody and say, asking someone if they're sure that their spouse was abusing them or for getting drunk and shouting at them for hours, for instance, is a way that a friend or family member may discount what was just told to them. They're just told that they were abused, and they say, well, maybe he didn't mean it. Listening and involves also thinking about what one has heard and then providing a response if that's necessary. Providing a response that supports the abuse is not acceptable. So, whether or not they were expressing the true scorn, as is sometimes the case, the deflection of a report of abuse could shut the abused person up. They're like, oh, well, maybe it's nothing. Maybe it happens to everybody. No, it doesn't happen to everybody, and it shouldn't happen to anybody. So, spouse abuse is not something someone should have to shut up about or take or face with a stiff upper lip. Whether the abuse is mental, physical, or emotional, it steals from the abused person their rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is a family tragedy that is all too often hidden from the world. And the alternative is just to end the relationship and break it up. And you could still talk to the person if you have to, but you don't have to live in the constant fear, constant anger, constantly being upset. You don't need to do that. Now, alcohol abuse itself is shrugged off in many ways. After all, there are billions and billions of dollars spent every year to convince you and I, to drink alcohol, and that it's a natural way to celebrate, to gain friends, have meaningful relationships, as a way to relax, as a reward, and many other positive things, when the truth remains that alcohol is a product like any other and does not really enhance life. It inhibits it in many ways. Alcohol became popular in the United States because we didn't really have access to fresh water all the time, and there was always the alcohol. When you make the alcohol, you got the liquid, right? And the per capita, the individual consumption of drinking whiskey was, whoa, it was amazing in the past. But now we got fresh water, we have alternatives, we have juices, we don't need to be drinking all that much alcohol. So the reasons they're giving us to drink, the people that produce it are giving us to drink it, are for all the things just mentioned. It's a reward, it's wonderful, it makes romance possible. No, none of it. So, and let's take a brief look at drug abuse, and that takes many forms. It can be as simple as consuming all of the drugs that a doctor provides. In a very legal fashion, millions of Americans suffer from drug abuse and don't even know it. In the case of opioids for pain relief, for example, once a human being consumes opioids for up to 16, that's a little over 2 weeks, to 30 days, just 1 month, their body becomes dependent on them. So the individual that consumes it for that amount of time, finishes up that little bottle they got, they're dependent. Their body is now dependent on opioids. Happens to every single person. If the individual continues to consume them for up to 60 to 90 days, depending on the constitution and the amount that they're taking, which is in many cases, that is really the number of days the opioids are prescribed for, the body becomes addicted. So this happens to every single person. It's the nature of opioids. That's just what happens. You can't handle it. You can't stop it from happening. If you take it for that long, you're going to get addicted. And then there have been the opioids are classified as a pharmacon, which means they are both a medicine and a poison. And then you need to, people sometimes fall into long-term abuse because they get an extension because, they're feeling pain when they finish up that first prescription, but the pain of finishing the first prescription now has changed from the treatment that they were getting with their opioids to they're not having it anymore. It's causing them pain. So that's what we have here. Simple, straightforward book. You can get it on Amazon. Follow me. You get a nice quick copy of it, and it'll tell you in here about social workers, social justice, SAMHSA, Al-Anon, Alateen, and all those great folks that are out there waiting to help you right now or your loved ones. Thank you.